Howdy everybody, welcome back to the Aurora space program. This is Inu Blue, and you're watching the launch of Chaska 1, May 15th, 1951. The rocket is unguided. Its mission is to explore the upper atmosphere and return data for its pressure and temperature and some telemetry for the rocket guidance. Though this rocket is unguided, we're doing some science for the future of the space program, just to learn more about programming the missiles and whatnot. Below, we've got the U-1250 engine powering this rocket into space. Though this mission is very simple, unguided, and largely not of much significance, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, it will result in some science that will be usable for unlocking tech later on. The purpose of this episode is largely going to be wrapping up the year of 1951, making sure everything is completely finished up, and going all the way as close to December as we can. This comes as, in my last episode, a commenter asked that I put in some more Let's Play aspects into the series and less tutorial. So this will be the first episode that we test out that tutorial aspect, or that Let's Play aspect rather than the tutorial. Here we are. We broke in the Kármán line. Chaska 1's moving its way right on up. This is the second launch of the year, second launch ever of my space program. Not even a plane has flown before. For this first launch, I'm going to be showing most of it. There's not going to be much cut off or anything. It's going to be very simple, very quick and easy. I'm going to try and show as much as possible because I see no reason not to. You can see I've completed my telemetry analysis on this rocket for the upper atmosphere. And then still got some data here on the pressure scan and the temperature scan. I'm trying out to play some music in this episode as well, just in the background, something simple. You let me know how you think of it. It's not exactly linked to what's happening on screen. You can tell this isn't exactly the most exciting moment, but this music is kind of ramping up. Anyways, here we go. Falling right back down. Almost back to, here we go. The main bulk of the atmosphere, we're down into it now. Once we dip below 40 kilometers, we should start losing our ability to gain any science. There we go. Yep. And I'm going to check up here and see if our data has fully transmitted. Yep, looks like we got no data. So I'm going to engage the range safety and destroy the rocket. Here we are, the launch of the Chaska 1A on June 18th. The third launch of the year. So far we had no hiccups in our launches. Let's hope it stays that way. Just the same launch, more or less. Just gathering some more data from the upper atmosphere and then outer space. We're trying to get as much of this as we can, so that way we can exclude those instruments on our crafts later on and save some weight, since weight is going to be pretty important later on in the series, especially once we get to orbit. Speaking of orbit, I mentioned in the last episode that I have some goals that I would like to accomplish with this series. In the short term, my goal is to beat the Americans to the moon. This is short term, I mean, that's, I suppose, the goal of this first season, as it were, of this Let's Play, would be to beat the Americans to the moon. Then following that, I would like to go on to Mars, try to do that before 1980. And then following that again, I would like to have a Kerbal mission to Titan. Most of the stuff that I'll be doing later on in this series is going to be preparing me for that Mars mission, and then the Titan mission. I'm going to largely use my moon missions as a preparation for a Mars base. So if the first mission is a little bit lacking, the next missions might have a little bit more going for them just to make up for that, but we'll see. Anyways, the short-term goals, back to those, is going to be to beat the Soviets into orbit, beat that Sputnik launch of October 4th, 1957. In the past, I've been able to do this as early as 1955. The last time that I played this game, I was able to do it in 1956, very early 1956. So I have really no question about it that I'll be able to beat it in this season, this playthrough. But I am still concerned. I'd like to keep track of all that, make sure that I'm moving along rather nicely, keeping up with my goals here. The next goal that I would like to beat is to have a lunar impactor before 1959 and a lunar lander probably soon after that. I would like to accomplish that so that way I can get started on my moon goals as early as possible. Alright, that was the end of that second launch here, and now we're on to something much more interesting. The first aircraft of our series, flown by Patricia Foster on June 24th, the Seahawk 1. A small jet, more or less a trainer, designed to break the sound barrier. It is really rudimentary. It's one of my first jets that I've designed. I usually use it for this mission. Whenever I play a new series, I like to create a similar jet, just so that way I don't have to worry about balancing the planes. As I've said before, aircrafts are extremely difficult in RP1 to manage. Here I've sped up the footage just a wee bit, as flying the plane in this episode takes up the largest portion of the episode. So while we're doing this, back to the goals. I would like to beat the Soviets to have the first human in orbit. It won't be a human, maybe it'll be Patricia Foster, we'll see. But I would like to do that before April 12th, 1961. If I have to fall behind, that's fine. I'm not really worried about it. Largely the only goal, the deadline that I'm interested in beating, is going to be that first satellite in orbit, and then that first lunar landing by 1969. I've got a lot of little supplementary goals in between, but those will come about with time. You can see I'm just trying to mess around with the camera there. I'm still messing around with it. I'm not very good with camera tools. I can make a mean pathing camera, but as for the stationary camera, I can do it kind of okay with rockets, but on planes I'm not so good at it. a dogfight might be a better camera, but unfortunately the way the dogfight works, it tends to lock up behind your plane, and that is rather annoying. You can see I'm lined up with this shuttle launch pad in a dive. I'm trying to speed up. Here I broke the sound barrier. I'm at 1.02. But I'm getting close to going back below the sound barrier, and boom. I just went right underneath the sound barrier at the very, very last second, unfortunately. So I went back into a climb, and I'm going around for another try. I've got only 9 minutes of fuel left, so I'm trying to get as high as possible, so I have as much energy as possible for this mission. I'm almost to the service altitude of this cockpit, though I didn't realize it. You'll see here, now that we're back at normal speed, what I end up doing. Very nearly ending the life of our poor Patricia Foster. She's already got white hair, you can see from my flying. You can see I went right over that ceiling, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta go back. So I immediately went into a dive as fast as possible, and she passed out, but luckily I managed to break the sound barrier on the way down, and I broke it. There we go. I got 30 seconds worth of Mach 1 flight. Very simple contract, one of the easiest at the start, besides that first launch contract. I got some reputation for that and unlocked some leaders, though I'm not going to be picking those up just yet. Here we are coming in for that landing. Only got 1 minute and 30 seconds left of fuel. And very shortly you'll see I made a grave error. Very grave error. I realized I was coming in a little hot to that runway, even though it's still quite a distance away. This plane has no air brakes and no flaps on it, so I would have had to bleed off a lot more speed than I have. So I come to that realization, and I decide I'm going to go into a dive and then do some dolphin jumping maneuvers to try and bleed off speed by using the area of our wings as an air brake. But I am not bleeding off nearly enough speed, and I decide to take a yaw. I try to yaw to the side, and unfortunately I face the consequences of such a silly option. I got a really good shot of that plane falling away, though. That was really cool. Patricia managed to eject safely, though, thankfully. I include an ejection seat on all my planes now. When I first started playing this game, I never put ejection seats on the planes, and I paid dearly for that. I was negative like 20 reputation on year 1. Alright, Patricia got some ribbons and a newspaper article written about her. Unfortunately, the US has already beat us to the sound barrier, so we're not going to be able to break that record. But here we are. It's the launch of the Chaska 1B. This one's a little sped up. I felt it wasn't as important as the first 2 launches of the year. Though nothing really happened in the second launch. I suppose I could have sped that one up too. Need a little bit of a shorter episode. Anyways. I wonder, I think another goal that I would like to beat in this series while I'm watching this rocket fly up above the atmosphere, I would like to try and get my first space station in orbit before the Soviet Union did it in real life, which happened in 1971. Maybe I'll try and get my first space station in orbit before I even get to the moon. We'll see. If I do, it'll be something really simple, to be honest. Because the moon should be my top priority. I saw that the Seahawk one still existed. Here I am picking up another contract. I end up going with the experimental rocket planes, which will be the subject of the next X-Plane contract that you'll see in 1952, hopefully. And then I also pick up the stratospheric research, which is essentially a contract to build what could be called a U-2 type plane. I'm second guessing myself here, but I end up picking it up anyways. Yeah, there we go. And here we are, the first launch of the Chaska 2 in September 8th. This is the first launch that we have a sounding rocket payload on. Who knows what those scientists back in the offices have cooked up, but they wanted us to take 75 units of their payload to 80 kilometers, so who are we to deny them, us humble engineers for the Aurora space program. So here we go, right on up. What an epic launch, same as before basically, but here we've got a little bit something different. You'll see coming up soon. Almost there. Aha, here we are. The engine failed. This is why we have been launching those extra rockets, to grab as much data as possible on this engine so it doesn't fail as much. Well, since I knew I wasn't going to reach my altitude, my desired altitude, I decided to cut the rocket, hit the range safety, save some poor Florida farmer from having a giant steel dart hit his farm. Here we are, we made it to 110 kilometers, the Apoaps. So we should certainly break this altitude record here. There we go. Our contract is complete. 80 confidence and 12 reputation. After that, I decided to blow it up. With the science that we gained from the first few Chaskas and our contracts, we're picking up some nodes here. Just some stuff that we'll be researching very soon. We've already got material science and the post-war rocketry researched. I think next on the list is going to be those early tracking systems. And then the solid rockets, maybe? I'm not sure. I don't remember what was on my list. But I was just checking out what's in all these other nodes before I head on out to the next Chaska launch. This is November 2nd, 1951. It's the Chaska 1B. You can see I have a little bit of a naming scheme going on here. At least for these sounding rockets, I'm going to iterate my launches with a letter. So if it's the same launch vehicle or the same complete package launched over and over again, then I'm just going to iterate it ABC. The first one will have no letter at all, and then after that it's going to be ABC, and so on and so forth. I don't know if I'll keep that for the later launches for larger rockets and maybe even probes, but we'll see. After that, by the way, I forgot to mention, well, after I did those science nodes, I picked up another 80-kilometer contract, and you can see now I've completely used all of the rewards from the 80-kilometer contracts up, and I decide I need to pick up another, a new contract. And so I pick up this low space film return contract, and in the background, while I pick that up, I decide to start work on a new launch complex for our next launch vehicle that will take our early film cameras to orbit in not to orbit, into space in 1952. Our V2 look-alike. Here we are launching the Chaska 1C, which is, as I said before, an iteration of the first Chaska launch vehicle. The purpose of these launches is to gain data from low outer space and gain data on our engine. See, I'm up to 6,100 data units here. And here we are coasting on up to 140 kilometers. Our apogee is 146 kilometers. Probably soon to fall a little bit below that. We'll see. No, actually, 146.2 is going to be our apogee. Interesting that the apogee was rising again. So I decided to range safety it as soon as I knew that it was transmitted. On December 20th here, we've got the final launch of the year, the Chaska 1D. Next year, I probably won't launch any Chaskas unless it's on top of a bumper rocket. Mostly because they've outlived their usefulness. And next year we'll be largely training our pilot, Patricia Foster, increasing her retirement date, flying our X1 counterpart, and launching our larger rockets. We've gotten almost all the science that we can get from low space. What would be ideal is if we could get these rockets just a little bit higher and get them getting a little bit more data units, but we'll see. A lot of that stuff can be got later on when we go to space with our next launch vehicle. Fallen down back to Earth, and we initiate the range safety, and that'll be it for this episode. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the year of 1951. Very simple year. If you have any questions about how I did anything, or you want to just comment on the video generally, go ahead and leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like or a dislike if you didn't enjoy it. And I would greatly appreciate it if you did that. If you're interested, you can go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to try and bring out another episode every Saturday. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good day.